Rome seemed unstoppable. It ruled the known world for centuries, but its downfall wasn't caused by war or invasion. It started quietly, inside its own walls, and no one noticed. In this video, you're going to discover the real story behind the fall of the Roman Empire, and it's nothing like the textbooks say. What destroyed Rome has shocking parallels to the world we live in now. By the end of this, you may realize we might be next. Rome wasn't just powerful, it was mythical. It governed over 70 million people, 1/5 of the world's population at the time. Its laws, armies, architecture, and language shaped civilization for centuries to come. To people living in the empire, especially in places like Rome, Alexandria, or Antioch, the idea that Rome could fall was almost laughable. Roads connected cities like veins in a living body. Aqueducts brought water from mountains hundreds of miles away. Armies marched with unmatched discipline and strategy. People in Rome's heartland lived with a strange kind of faith, not in gods, but in Rome itself. This was the first society in history that truly believed it would last forever, and that belief became its downfall. But what they didn't realize, not yet, was that the cracks were already forming, and some of them were invisible. What came next didn't feel like collapse until the ground gave way completely. In the 2nd century, while Rome still looked invincible on the outside, it was becoming sick on the inside. Taxes were rising, especially for the poor, while landowners got exemptions and lived like royalty. Farmers abandoned their land because they couldn't afford to keep it. Markets began refusing Roman coins because everyone knew they were being silently devalued. Roman emperors started mixing less silver into the coins to stretch the budget. On the surface, no difference. In reality, a slow financial collapse. You could still buy wine, you could still order a statue to be sculpted, but the trust? Gone. And trust is what held Rome together, not marble, not emperors. And then, the air changed. Rumors started to spread about a coming storm, about a distant infection, about fear, because something was on its way, and no one was prepared. The year was 165 AD. A mysterious plague entered the empire, what historians now believe was smallpox. It tore through the population like fire in dry brush. At least 5 million people died. Entire legions were lost. Doctors couldn't explain it. The gods didn't protect anyone. Rome's perfect system had no defense against biology. The Antonine Plague didn't just kill people, it killed belief in empire, in order, in control. But instead of uniting, the empire fractured. The economy slowed. Soldiers weren't paid on time. Riots spread. People turned against each other. Local militias formed. But then came the most dangerous twist of all. The emperors turned on each other. For decades, rulers rose and fell at alarming rates. Many lasted only months. One was assassinated in a theater, watching a play. Another was strangled in his sleep by his own bodyguard. In just 50 years, Rome had 26 emperors, and only one died of natural causes. At this point, Rome didn't need barbarians. It was destroying itself. As internal chaos grew, external enemies saw opportunity. Goths, Vandals, and Huns, names that once inspired laughter in Roman elite circles, began pushing at the borders. But many of the so-called barbarians had once served in the Roman military. Some were generals. Some knew Roman tactics. Some had Roman wives. Rome had trained its own conquerors and paid them right up until they turned back across the border, swords in hand. In 378 AD,
The Battle of Adrianople changed everything. The Eastern Roman army, once considered invincible, was slaughtered by Gothic warriors. 2/3 of the entire army vanished. The emperor himself killed. For the first time, Rome was scared. But while chaos brewed, something else was happening beneath the surface. A cultural shift. Christianity was becoming dominant. Pagan traditions and Roman rituals were fading away. Rome was forgetting who it was. And without a shared identity, people stopped believing in the empire. And when belief dies, collapse is only a matter of time. 410 AD. For 800 years, Rome, the city itself, had never been touched by an invading army. No enemy had stood within its walls since the early Republic. But then came a man named Alaric, a Gothic king, once a Roman general, trained by Rome, overlooked by Rome, betrayed by Rome. He'd had enough. His army entered Rome, and for 3 days they plundered, burned, looted, and broke the myth of Roman invincibility. The city that once claimed to rule the world was now filled with ash and silence. One noble family was found hiding in their wine cellar, offering gold just for mercy. The invaders laughed. Gold in that moment meant nothing. But the real tragedy? This wasn't even the end. Rome limped on for decades. Decades. Corrupt governors remained in office. Areas defended only on paper. Roads collapsed. Armies vanished. In 476 AD, a Germanic general named Odoacer deposed the last Western Roman emperor, a teenage boy named Romulus Augustulus. He didn't kill him. He simply sent him home. There was no final battle, no stirring speech, no rallying cry. The Roman Empire didn't die. It stopped being worth fighting for. And slowly, layer by layer, the light that was Rome faded. Books stopped being copied, libraries burned, trade routes were lost, and the world slid into what we now call the Dark Ages. But there's one final twist, one we often ignore. The collapse of Rome wasn't a fluke. It was a process. And that process feels shockingly familiar. Economic crises, cultural division, distrust in leadership, wealth in the hands of a few, religious tensions, endless international wars, and most dangerously of all, the blind belief that a society can never fall. Sound like anything? Empires aren't murdered in the night. They die slowly, by their own hand. If history has one message, it's this: no one is too big to fall, not even us. What would you have done, living in Rome? Tell us in the comments, and don't miss our deeper story on Byzantium.